Greetings and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by fellow host Johnny Paulus.
What up?
Johnny, welcome in. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So we were just having a heated debate before the show started.
We were.
And it was actually really good. So I just sort of just smashed the record button on you.
Yeah, no, he just said, hold on, and then the countdown was going. So here we are.
So we're going to get to that in a second, but let's clear our minds for a moment, have a palate cleanser, if you will.
Sure.
And how was your week? That good?
Stressful work week. Good gaming week. I've had a lot of fun with video games this week. So as far as the podcast goes, it's been good. Today we took 9 pounds of unripened green tomatoes out of the garden and ran them through a food processor with a whole bunch of green pepper, a whole bunch of cilantro, a whole bunch of lime, some lime zest, some cumin, all that stuff. And we made 13 jars of enchilada sauce. What on earth are we going to do with 13 jars of enchilada sauce? I don't know, but they didn't really cost us any money, and now we have 13 jars of enchilada sauce. So, hey, who wants a jar of enchilada sauce for Christmas? Because that's where we're at right now.
Ladies
Mike,
and gentlemen,
would you like a jar of
welcome
enchilada
to
sauce?
the Power Gardener Podcast.
That's right, Power Garden Podcast. Don't forget it.
Sounds like we should make enchilada fajitas.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This week for me has also been good. I have continued bass quest, just playing obscene amounts of bass guitar. I keep finding offers for groups that live like a fucking hour away, and like people keep sending me, and I'm like, I'm not that into it right now. But I'm gonna go scope out open mic on Mondays to see what's around locally that I might be able to get involved in. So,
hell yeah.
But other than that, just been expanding my repertoire of songs that I practice. Every time I learn, I have this playlist in Spotify. It's called Bass Practice. And every day I try and sit down and learn one new song. And then I throw it on the playlist. So I'll learn the new song, put it at the bottom of the playlist. Then I play the playlist top to bottom. And just do that. And that's been my...
What's the most challenging song in the bass playlist?
Schism.
Okay.
Schism is relentlessly challenging, actually.
Yep.
Close second, Laid to Rest, Lamb of God.
Okay.
That song also sucks to play. Most of them are more like groove-oriented songs, but yeah, there's a few on there that are like the technical evil songs. Sir Duke, Stevie Wonder is in there. That song's pretty fucking technical. So yeah, just been doing a lot of that, enjoying my new bass, new Mark bass amp. You know, just getting after it. And it's funny, like, I feel like I've gotten better at the instrument. I've learned more and improved my playing more in the past year than I did the previous 10, is how it feels. So, like, just something about having a more mature adult brain that processes things better than when I was an idiot kid. It's
and having the willpower to like just make yourself practice no matter what.
Well, and also, and this is going to sound like duh to our younger listeners, but just having fucking the internet, you know, because like when I first grabbed an instrument when I was 14, there was like 5 tabs on MX tabs, and they were all fucking wrong.
Dude, I remember downloading tabs on different websites and printing them on my mom's dot matrix printer, and then I just had a folder of all these.
And like the tabs weren't even really the bad part back then, because you could go buy books. Yeah, but books are bound pre-printed things that you used to be able to go to stores and buy. The real challenge back then was just getting the fucking music, because you either had to go to the store and sit there at a listening station and listen to albums until you found shit that you liked that wasn't on the radio.
Yep.
You had to just buy it blind, or you had to wait an entire day for that bitch to download off Napster.
Mm-hmm.
And like now, that was work back then. Now that's just an afterthought to the current generation. So
well, and what's funny is like although the convenience of something like Spotify or whatever is great, I do miss the listening stations at Tower Records. The amount of bands that I discovered just going into Tower Records, putting on the headphones and being like, all right, first album, not my thing. Next, I remember that was how I discovered Elbow. I heard the first Elbow record sitting at Tower Records, and every track I was like, oh my god, oh my god, I have to have this, and they've been one of my favorite bands ever since. So I do wonder how kids discover music without radio and shit.
It's just whatever pops up online now. I mean, it's all fucking algorithm nonsense. Yep. Tuesdays at Best Buy used to be New Music Day.
Yep.
And they would have one of the end caps on the CD section, which used to be half the fucking store back in the day. But it would just have all the independent label bands on it. So like that was where I found From Autumn to Ashes and God Forbid and like all sorts of like heavy stuff. And then I became aware of, okay, they're on Century Media or whatever. So I'd go to that website and look up Century Media or whatever and be like, oh, okay, I need to go buy this album from 18 Visions or whoever, and just kept going on and on that way. And now I'm like, I used to be super aware of like all the labels because you could just go check their site and see what you needed to be into. Now it's totally, it's so much easier. So yeah, I guess drawing the point around is, I think that's to blame for like how rapidly I've been improving this past year. Is just like, oh my god, this is fucking easy. Anyone can do this. Now instead of bullshit tabs, there's this site called Songster with 2 R's, and they are not advertising our podcast. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But it's got all the tabs. They're all correct because it translates MIDI data into the tab.
Wow.
And it plays a full MIDI version of the song at the push of a spacebar that you can play along to with the tab. So it's just
that's
impossibly easy to sit down and learn stuff now. So, right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. It is episode 89 of the Power Gamer podcast. Much to discuss this week, but as we always do, we're going to first start off by talking about what we've been playing this week. And this is the point of the show where I remind Johnny that we need a drop for we've been playing this week. Okay, got the note made again.
Got it. Noted.
Because something on your list is going to spurn a conversation, we're going to put you second.
Okay.
And I'll go first. So I started streaming again. What?
Woo!
That's right. And it's been fun, and I figured, rule of thumb for streaming, don't play something that just came out, because nobody will want to come watch if you play the game that they don't want spoiled for them. So I thought, you know what? I've been putting off Resident Evil 2 Remake for far too long. Let's do it. And so, yeah, I sat down. I think I said I started playing it last week, but I just... when you're streaming, I mean, it's just nonstop. So I just plowed through that game. And yeah, I beat Resident Evil 2 Remake. And holy fucking shit, that game is amazing. Which everyone said it was when it came out. It came out like at a weird time for me where like I didn't really have time to play it, but
good. So it holds up.
I mean, it's an exact recreation of the first game, just with like crazy realistic graphics and a camera angle that most people don't hate. And I mean, it's a dead ringer for the original game. And like having somebody like me kind of narrating my walk through it, where I go into a space and go, oh, I know exactly where we are. This is here, this is here, this is here. And everything's exactly where it's supposed to be. Just incredible. And for somebody that hasn't ever played the old Resident Evil 2 games, it's just fucking terrifying. They get horror so right because Mr. X is on your ass all the time. From the first second you hear his oafy footsteps clunking down the hall toward. He's just on you, and he doesn't like decide to go away. No, he's there the entire time, and your only place to get away from him is if you jump into a safe room. So it's menacingly terrifying, and you can hear him clumping around in the hallways. The 3D audio in the game is just fantastic. So looks like that game can be had pretty cheaply now, both for console players and for PC players. I got my my PS4 disc of it for, I think, $15 off eBay.
Yeah, that's sick.
And it comes with the free PS5 upgrade. Just when you pop in your disc, be sure, read the prompts, because it will guide you. If you just mash the button when you stick the thing in, it will install the PS4 button, or version of it. But if you just slow down for a second and just do the upgrade to PS5. And what it does is it just downloads the whole PS5 game, and then your disc is the authorization to be able to play it. So you still have to have your disc in the drive.
My Final Fantasy VII Remake is the same thing. Disc has to be in, but...
So Resident Evil 2 Remake is just a wonderful job of that game. For what it is, gut score 8.5. It's must play. That being said, I have just installed Resident Evil 3 Remake. So I will I'll be tackling that next. I'll probably hop on after we're done doing the show here, actually, just get into it. And where can you find me? We all know where we can find Johnny, which is twitch.tv/H3LLH3RO, Mr. Hell Hero with threes for ease. My name's a little easier to spell. It's just Focus Mike D. Smush it together. That's how you find me. So if you want to see my Twitch stream, just pop on over. Focus Mike D. The next game that I played this week is I fired up A Plague's Tale Requiem when I played through the first chapter. And having just played Innocence recently.
Same.
Awesome. So it just starts right off where the old game ends. And it's just great. It gives you a quick reminder of how to play the game, and then shit immediately starts hitting the fan, just like in the first game.
Yep.
And it's great. It's really great just off the first chapter of it. I'm not going to spoil anything because this game just came out, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe the only critical things I can point out so far is it doesn't look like the game has a performance mode. It looks like it just only has the high fidelity mode, which for the first 5 minutes I was like, I'm so used to playing at a 60 to 80 frames per second. I don't know about this.
Yeah.
And within 10 minutes, I'm like, it just looks like a fucking movie. You know? Ray tracing. Okay, never mind. I don't care. Look at that trace of light. And Plague's Tale's kind of a slow moving game anyways. You're not really, it's not Doom 2016.
Yep.
So it totally works for it. And so yeah, I've just left the default graphic settings alone, playing it on my Xbox Series X right now with the Game Pass service. So,
and I will be playing that on PC soon, so I'll report how the performance is.
Yeah, I'm just going to tackle it off stream. I can't see too many people with the game having just came out wanting to sit and watch someone else play it. So,
yep,
I'm just going to tackle it on my own, I guess, and I should get it done pretty quickly in that case. So, Johnny, that brings us to you. Sir, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I finally took down Far Cry 5. I rolled credits on it today. The ending took me for a loop. I'm not going to spoil it. Nobody panic, but the ending was weird. Overall, where does it stand against Far Cry 6.
Or what did 6 just do better than 5?
Gameplay-wise, 5 and 6 are neck and neck. As far as like the combat and running around and driving vehicles and doing all that shit, if that's your main drive for playing Far Cry 5, Far Cry 6, same difference. I would say Far Cry 6, I thought the story was better. I thought the characters were better. I thought I was more emotionally invested in the character that I'm playing because the character that I'm playing had dialogue.
Actually,
the amount of times, the amount of times that a character said something to me as a character and my character didn't say anything, it just bothers you after a while. But no, I mean, I really enjoyed the game, and in fact, as soon as I rolled credits on that, I fired up the next one on my list, Far Cry New Dawn. So I am, I don't know, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours into that, and quite a different game. It would be a spoiler if I described what was happening in that game, but it has something to do with the end of Far Cry 5. It's the same county. It's in Hope County, but it's under different parameters, shall we say. But so far, I'm a little underwhelmed with the guns, but I'm also in the very early stages of the game. That can be pretty common with these types of games. You get crappy guns for the first 5, 6 hours, but we'll see. So far, I'm really enjoying it. Also, a game that I watched a trailer a few months ago. I saw it. I searched it on the Android Play Store, and it said, would you like us to let you know when this game comes out? And that game is Marvel Snap. I've had it on my pre-order for the App Store for a while because I wanted to check it out. I was intrigued by a Marvel card game. And I really didn't know the story behind it. I just saw a trailer and said, oh, that looks fun, and I like card games. Now that I've downloaded it, I have ignored every other game that I have on my phone. I haven't opened Puzzles and Empires in 4 days, which has not happened in over a year.
Your guild's going to be so mad.
That guild is going to be mad. But I'm telling you right now that if you enjoy card games, Marvel Snap is one of the best ones out there right now. It's really, really intriguing.
Why haven't you done your
fun.
Titan Strikes?
Exactly. But no, and then I'm into day 2 or day 3 playing it, and here I'm gonna pull up the headline, and then I went to Kotaku and they had the headline. Oh, of course I can't find it, so I can't directly quote, but it was something to the effect of Marvel Snap is one of the best card games out right now. So I'm going to try to give a quick crash course on what makes Marvel Snap cool.
Marvel Gwentstone.
If you're into card games, hopefully this makes sense. If you're not into card games, I'm really, really sorry for the next 60 seconds, okay? Just bear with me. If Gwent and Hearthstone had a baby and you played 3 games at once, that's what Marvel Snap is. On top of that, it also has a poker mechanic where you can snap, which means you're increasing the stakes. You're saying, I think I have this game in the bag. I'm going to snap. And if you snap, that raises the stakes of the game, which means if they lose more XP. And if you win more XP. All of the things in this game are designed to make it very, very fast games. The games are like 2, 3, 4 minutes. They're real quick. You don't get caught into any of those Hearthstone games where you're on turn 10, turn 12. All of the games are 6 turns. So there's 3 fields you have to capture, and each one of them has different rules every single game. So turn 1 will go, and it will say, no cards can be played here after turn 4. So what's the highest power level that I can get on that spot by turn 4? That's my priority right now. Then the next one opens, and it has new rules. Then the next one opens, it has new rules. At the end of the game, it tallies up the amount of power that you have for those 3 fields. If you have 2 out of 3, you win. If it's a tie, then it's based off overall power level. I know it sounds complicated, but they do a very good job of letting you kind of learn the early cards. But my number one favorite thing about it, being that it's a free card game, I have not yet, not even once, been tempted to pull out my wallet and buy something. All of the cards are earned through leveling up. So the more you play, You get another card. You're, oh, cool. That's a neat card. That might work with this deck. And then you keep playing and playing and playing. Like, cool, I got another card. There is no, do you want to buy 50 packs? Do you want to, they have a battle pass, but all of that is like just like cosmetic-y sort of stuff. So so far I'm really, really impressed. If you dig card games, you should check it out. Strong recommend. And lastly on my list, the game that fired up our discussion that made Mike want to hit the start button. Return to Monkey Island. I told Mike that I wanted to give Return to Monkey Island a perfect 10 out of 10, to which Mike very heavily rebuked and said that I should not do that. Before I'm going to give him his counter argument, I just want to make this statement. Regardless of where this conversation goes, in the world of old school point and click adventure games, okay? So if you are someone close to my age and you enjoyed the old Lucasfilm games, you enjoyed King's Quest, Space Quest, Maniac Mansion, Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Father, The Dig, any of those old school adventure games, the Return to Monkey Island in that respect is a 10 out of 10. The story, the puzzles, the heart, the music, the dialogue, the voice acting, everything about it, I felt was flawless for that category. Mike, why should I not give a point-and-click adventure game a perfect 10?
So you've brought us to our next segment. What constitutes a game rating that is to call a game perfection? And we do have to take into account that a numerical system for rating games cannot be a time-isolated device. Because when we talk about games, we have to also take into account when the game was made. Because by all standards, right, a lot of the games that we considered amazing back on the Super Nintendo, back on the regular NES, if we hand that to someone younger that didn't have to grow up through that, they are not going to agree with you. So, objectively speaking, when it comes to how I like to rate games, I don't rate games for myself. I rate games to try and tell something to everyone else. And I try and keep in mind who that person could be that I'm speaking to. So 10 out of 10 games are really tough. And you and I both have been super annoyed at how frequently that shit's been being tossed around of late. Like Deathloop got one from IGN. Fucking Elden Ring got one from IGN. I mean, it's just, they've been handing them out like candy lately. And it used to be a very rare and very special thing when a game received a perfect score. And so definitely.
I remember Ocarina of Time getting a 10. I remember Soul Calibur getting a 10. They didn't happen very often.
No.
It felt like maybe one a generation.
It's very, very rare. Well, it should be. So whenever I'm trying to rate a game and I want to have a scale to rate against, I first have to figure out what is my 10. And if something I consider to be on that pedestal, right? So the most recent example I can think of a game for me that would be a 10 is The Last of Us, the first one, which I agree with every reviewer that came out and said that this first release of The Last of Us is a perfect game. Totally agree.
It's arguably perfect. Yes, I agree.
But I'd also say that when it came out, a game like Super Metroid is a perfect game. A game like Chrono Trigger is a perfect game. But if Chrono Trigger came out in 2022, I would still think it's very good. But so is Octopath Traveler. And in 2022, Octopath Traveler is not a 10. However, And if Octopath Traveler came out in 1994, that game would be a 10. You see what I'm saying? So I think you have to take into consideration not just the game itself, but for also the audience that you're speaking to and to where you are in time. Return to Monkey Island looks fantastic for a point-and-click game. But I look at it at the same lens that I look at Octopath Traveler. If Octopath Traveler had come out in 1994, we'd probably hail it as one of the greatest video games ever made. As a collective group of people, because absolutely a Super Nintendo A could have run that game, no problem. And it would have just blown everyone's fucking minds if it had come out then. So it's not really fair to look at something through a lens that doesn't take time and place into account when we score something, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I have a hard time accepting Return to Monkey Island as a perfect game in 2022. If we went back in time 20 years and it was assigned that, I don't think I would have a problem with it. But in 2022, a point-and-click adventure game that already has a lot of disdain for it publicly because of the change in art direction, I would accept that it's very good, but I have a hard time accepting that it's a 10 out of 10. There's my point.
I mean, I just feel like with your mentality, your reasoning, that if somebody in 2022 released a fantastic folk record in 2022, and you went, yeah, but it's folk. I mean, who gives a fuck about folk? It's great that it's a really good album, but, it's 2022. Who's really listening to folk records nowadays? Whereas if it's a perfect folk record, it's a perfect folk record. If it's a perfect point-click adventure game, it's a perfect point-click adventure game. I just feel like with this Monkey Island game, I really had...
Well, hang on. Let's stop and talk about that point, though.
Sure.
Folk in 1968 was innovative. It was new, and it hadn't been done before. In what year did the original Monkey Island come out? 89? 88?
Earlier than that. Yeah, 86, I think.
Had anything like that been done before?
Yeah.
For a long time? No.
No, not for a long time, but no. I mean, adventure games had been around for a bit.
It was the first one that came out that changed the game, and like, boom, this is the mark by which others are judged.
True, that's correct. Yes.
So if you want to make the comparison about folk music in 2022, I'm going to have the same argument to refute it. That folk was done already, and it was done in 1968, and it was more impressive when you had a good folk record, when that was an innovative piece of work.
Okay. So it has to be innovative to get a 10. It can't be, this is what we aim to do, this is the path that we're on, this is the road that we're traveling, we're making X type of piece of art. And if that sort of thing has been done before, by your reasoning, it should never ever get a 10 no matter what.
I think it's very difficult to make the argument that that kind of thing can be perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Because 10 means perfect.
By your metric, I will give it a 9.5. I dinged it a 0.25 for originality because it has been done before. I didn't ding it hard because as far as this type of game goes, the puzzles were very thick. There were many, many threads to pull on. There was a lot of different directions to go. I've played a ton of these games, and I got stuck a lot. And one of my favorite mechanics in this game is that there is a hint book in your bag. And the thing I loved about the hint book is that it's really, really subtle. And then if you ask again, it gets a little bit less subtle. And if you ask again, it gets a little bit... It's never like, go here, do this, unless you ask it like 4 or 5 times. If you're like, how do I get this item? It's like, maybe you should try looking again on that island. And it doesn't tell you where, it doesn't tell you who to talk to. It doesn't give you any direction other than...
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, that
you're
was hot
cool,
or you're cold.
You could keep going back to it, and it'd give you gradually more specific hints.
I can still earn my aha moment when I figure it out, and I'm just using the hint book to kind of steer me in the right direction. So it never got actually like really truly stuck. There was a couple spots where I was like, I just don't know what to do next. I have so many things that I need to do, and I don't know where any of them link. But I got through it, and especially, I mean, I said it before, if you are a fan of the Monkey Island series, this is an absolute must-play. Buy it now. Share it with your kids. It's amazing fun. Loved it.
I had another thought come to mind, maybe to better explain my stance on perfection.
Okay.
I think for me it comes down to comparables, and you kind of nailed it on the head when you said in point and click adventures. You know, like if I'm just looking at Metroidvania games, that's a different lens than if I'm rating it against everything else. So I think there does need to be some objectivity where like you could give it a 10, but it has to wear that asterisk of it's a 10 in this community of games.
Yes.
You know, versus if we're just saying we have one scale by which we rate all games, there can never be a 10.
Yeah, no, and I mean I do concede that going out and telling the world of the Power Gamer podcast listeners that this is a 10 and it's a perfect game is a risky endeavor, because there's going to be a whole lot of people that are not going to get anything out of this game. And I do concede that, because point and click adventure games are a very niche thing. They were really popular when I was a kid. They're not nearly as popular now. We're starting to see a little bit of a resurgence in this genre. There's been a handful of newer, even games that have been pretty critically acclaimed. What was the Russian? Why am I drawing a blank on that one? Where the guy's like an absolute alcoholic drunk, and I got stuck on it.
Disco Elysium.
What the hell game? Yeah, Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is very much a point and click adventure game in this same genre, and if that speed of gameplay doesn't turn you off, you should check this out. But if you've ever played a point and click adventure game and you enjoy them, this is a must play. But I see your point. So yes, in the world of point and click adventure games, Return to Monkey Island, which is also a really fascinating thing, because the original creator of the first Monkey Island, Ron Gilbert, helped design the engine for that game. And that engine was then used to make multiple other adventure games. It was called the Scum engine, CUMM, and it was used in Maniac Mansion games and all that other shit. Ron Gilbert has been out of the gaming limelight for 20, 25 years. And he came back and said, I'm coming back to Monkey Island. I'm going to do one more Monkey Island game. And I think it's amazing that he was able to get all the original voice actors back, get the original composer back, and then, by the way, co-wrote the fucking engine for the game. Like, you look at the credits, Ron Gilbert, the same dude that designed the original Monkey Island 30 fucking years ago, says, I'm bringing this back and I'm writing the damn thing. So I have to give him a lot of credit, and I get to give them a lot of credit for a successful return to Monkey Island.
Here's a bonus question.
Okay.
Gut rating. Okay, because I think this is one that a consensus would feel very strongly about.
Okay.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Put the two games on the same scale. Where do they land?
See, I think the way that you and I score things, in my head, I compartmentalize it.
That's fine. I'm just asking you not to for a second. I get that. But I'm just asking you not to for a moment.
Okay. I mean, I'd say Red Dead's a 9.5, 9.6. It's up there. It's damn near perfect.
That's, same feels. And then I guess if we're on the same scale, right, if we're having to compare the two, right, where's Monkey Island stacked there? Genuinely.
9.5.
This makes sense. That makes more sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's damn good. And if that's, go watch a trailer of the game, and if it looks like something you would enjoy, I think you should buy it. It's really funny, it's really charming, it's really sweet.
So the global gut scale rating for the game, again, I'm very harsh with my numerical ratings of games. If something's above a 7, you should play it.
Yeah.
and how I look at things. So if something's a 9 from either one of us, yeah, if you have any inkling of an interest in this game, whether you look at a picture of it and you think it looks cool, you should probably play it. If you like point and click adventures and even don't like the art style of this game, you should probably go and play it because it's as well done as anything in that genre can be. Is there any point and click adventure game, including the original Monkey Island, that's better than this one?
Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Father, and Day of the Tentacle, Maniac Mansion are probably in the top 5, along with the original Monkey Island and Return to Monkey Island.
And there's
it's up there among the best.
There's one that's actually, I think it's on Game Pass right now. That's an old Lucas classic. I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass. Maybe don't quote me on this, but Full Throttle.
What is it? Full Throttle? Yeah, Full Throttle's fun. I even when that game came out way back when, as much as I was, you know what? Hold on. I just thought of one. The best point and click adventure game of all time is Grim Fandango.
So Grim Fandango
That's the number one.
Is absolutely a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and see, this is where I'm digging into your psyche, Johnny Paulus.
Well, I mean, if you Google Grim Fandango,
I know
when it
about
came
Grim
out,
Fandango.
There's plenty of people that agree with
I
me.
know about Grim Fandango. Yeah, that game's fucking awesome. So if that game is the mark for a 10, right? Is on that scale, is this game like a 9.8, a 9.9, a 9.7?
It's in that.
It's like equal or just below.
It's right, dude. It's right up there. I mean, I would honestly need a couple years and need to go back and play Grim Fandango for me to officially say.
Isn't there? There's like a remade version of that. Yeah,
there is, but it's still pretty rough. It came out a few years ago. I bought it and played it, and it was pretty underwhelming. It needs an actual remake.
I feel like I saw something more recently about that, but maybe I'm wrong.
Which, by the way, if anyone listening, if they played Return to Monkey Island or they want to play Return to Monkey Island but they don't know anything about it, you can also buy the original game, which was remade like about 10 years ago, just called Secret to Monkey Island. The thing that's really cool about the remake, at least on the computer, when you press the F10 key, it automatically transforms the remastered all the way back to the original. So if you ever like in the middle of a conversation with someone, or you get to a setting and you're like, what did this part of the game look like in the original? You can literally hit F10 and can continue to play the game from that point as if it was on an old DOS box, and then hit F10 and it goes back to the remaster. It's really cool the way it's done.
Yeah, it looks like the game's actually, it's on My Abandonware. So you may even be able to get it for free.
Oh, what, Grim Fandango?
No, Secret of Monkey Island.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Just did a quick
Secret
search.
of Monkey Island remake, I have it on Steam. It's awesome. I think I'm actually going to play through that now because I enjoyed the sequel so much.
Final question, Johnny.
Yeah.
I want to give you the chance to throw this back in my face.
Okay.
So I often call The Last of Us my 10. Make me squirm saying that. What are some other games like in that category that I should think of that I would have a hard time digesting against that game?
As a 10?
Yeah.
Witcher 3.
Yep.
Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, I would argue, are both, at least for their time. Half-Life 1 is extremely dated. Half-Life 2, not as much. But when they came out, they were 10s. They were like mind-blowing technical shit. I didn't know.
Especially Half-Life 1.
10s.
When that came out? Yeah, no, I remember.
Yes. BioShock, the first one. Super Metroid.
Yeah, like in the world of the third-person action-adventure games.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is kind of silly because it's the same dev, but Uncharted 4 is an absolutely incredible game.
It's a pretty good one, yeah.
Red Dead Redemption, obviously,
yes,
is difficult to make a case that that's not the number one because it's so fucking good.
That's up there. It is. God, that needs a remake. Holy shit, does that need a remake?
Yeah, it does. And the easiest low hanging fruit to gotcha me on is Mass Effect, because that is not a perfect game.
No, it's not.
But God damn it, that is the easiest one to
But to you, it's a 10. But to you, it's a 10.
Well, yeah, because like if you throw The Last of Us into a ring with me in in Mass Effect and say, Mike, you have to pick one, you can only keep one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ellie. Sorry, bud. Going with the chef.
And that's the thing is that
so I do have rose-colored glasses too.
Right, and wherever I'm scoring this, please keep in mind that you have to understand my bias. When I was a kid, and I had my little gaming computer, there wasn't a lot of stuff that you could play, and I was very into those adventure games. Like when a new King's Quest, Space Quest, Maniac Mansion, Monkey Island, whatever, whenever one of those new games came out, me and my dad got in the car, we went to the store, and him and I would play that game together, and we loved it. So that genre in particular will always have a special place in my heart, and I never thought I was going to get another perfect point-and-click adventure game, and the fact that we got it from the original creators, awesome.
Yeah, I think that game is... Just through observation, I still actually intend to play this game myself. I'm not going to put it on the hard difficulty like you, because that's very much not my thing. But
it was fun. I enjoyed it.
I mean, just looking at that game, looking at what's come out this year, the Game of the Year discussions are going to be starting up in about a month or so. And I mean, we watched It Takes Two clean house. Yeah, against some pretty stiff competition. And I'm curious to see what happens with this, because I say that on one hand, but then on the other hand, we saw Psychonauts get its dick kicked in the court of public opinion, so to speak. But then to us, Metroid Dread was just... nobody else could beat it. So I guess I'm less caring about what the rest of the world thinks, but when me and Johnny did our Game of the Year discussion last year, we each ran a list and then we smushed it together, and that's how we got our answers.
Yep. And we each had a couple of games that we felt so strongly about that even though the other had not played it, it was on the list.
Yeah, we had bonus points.
If Mike doesn't get around to Return to Monkey Island this year, it's still probably going to be in the top 10.
Now, I try and circle the ones that you feel strongly about as, okay, I need to have an opinion on this.
And last year was Guardians of the Galaxy, which was actually my first #1 game of the year last year.
Yeah. So this one I'm going to try and make a point to get to.
It's a lot of fun, and it's 8-10 hours. It's not too brutal.
Yeah, I'm going to do it a little bit differently than you, though. Is I'm going to do it on the Switch and see how that stacks. Not having
I'd be curious
the mouse
to know how that works.
Very good, sir. And speaking of old games, that's actually a way to transition perfectly to what we have to talk about next. We're going to go back in time to the early 2000s and talk about Silent Hill.
Can also go back to one of our first episodes where this was on our Misfit Games, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I think Silent Hill was in our conversation for franchises that are dead for no good reason and need to be brought back. And
when it's Silent
Hill was one of them.
Sometime after you beat the Medium, the rumor started circling that Bloober Team was who made the Medium. That Bloober Team was associated with a Silent Hill project. So it turns out that the worst kept secret in the industry has proven true. What's more interesting to me, rather than all these Silent Hill announcements that came out this week, which we'll get to in a second, what's more interesting to me, though, is Konami had gotten out of the video game business. Which sucks, because Konami has some of the best licenses in video games. They own Metal Gear Solid. Obviously, they own the Silent Hill franchise. Castlevania. One of my all-time favorite. They have Castlevania.
How is it
Turtles.
2022 and we don't have a first-person shooter Contra game?
Contra. I mean, and they've done.
Just take Contra and make it Halo, and you have my money.
They've done a really good job of releasing collections of late. Very a la Capcom, but Konami has done a good job with that. But yeah, I mean, in any other regards, they had kind of, after Metal Gear Solid 5, bowed out of the video game world completely. You know, after that fallout with Kojima, I mean, that was basically it for them.
Yeah.
And they're finally back, which is great news. Because
it is.
Konami is, historically speaking, one of the most important names in the video game business. So to have them back finally is fantastic, and we'll have to see what it means. But one of the, of course, series that is its most popular is the Silent Hill series, and they did a whole broadcast that you can find on YouTube or wherever this week called Silent Hill Transmission, and they went over some new Silent Hill games and stuff that are coming out. So the first one, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, is Silent Hill 2 Remake. So as rumored, and this reporting's per IGN, as rumored, Bloober Team is developing a full remake of Silent Hill 2 with the help of original Team Silent artists Masahiro Ito and composer Akira Yamaoka. The remake was announced for the PlayStation 5. The remake will retell the story of James Sunderland, who is looking for his dead wife, who sent him a mysterious letter from the town of Silent Hill. Konami and Bloober are promising a fully reworked game using new technology and delivered in 4K. So we got a pretty meaty trailer for Silent Hill 2.
Indeed we did.
And Johnny, being that you've got the experience of playing Bloober's last game,
yes.
What did you think of their new trailer? Does it look like they've taken that step forward to manning the AAA project, or does it feel like a AA and shoes too big for their own feet?
Well, I mean, my big takeaway when I rolled credits on the medium was I found the end
Blah.
disappointing. And just like that's
we both did.
It's never good when you're playing a game and you're invested and you're like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And then it happens and it rolls credits and you go, really? That's it? That's the end. We've been playing all this time for that. So, I mean, I don't, the end is very lackluster, but none of my issues with the medium had anything to do with like presentation. I mean, presentation was great. And as long as you're staying faithful to the plot beats and the twists and the environment and the vibe and the tone of Silent Hill 2, it's going to be a banger. It's going to be a banger. I'm not worried about this at all. I think it's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, the graphics that they presented, I mean, it looked engine and looked
very, very good.
Looked fantastic. And yeah, I think to that point, and this was when I was going to wheel around on, the criticism that you and I both had of the medium was it just seemed to just end just out of the, it's like, oh, yeah, game's over.
Yeah.
We were both sitting there because you were streaming. I'm like, wait, did the game just end? And you're like,
yeah,
that couldn't have been the ending.
Yeah.
So we're not having to rely on their writing in a remake. So maybe this is their calling.
Well, and I think that happens with indie games. I think a lot of times what happens is they run out of money and they go, we literally can't release the game and we can't pay your payroll if we don't release the game in the next
we just
got
to stop.
We have to finish it. We just have to stop. And the Gunk was the exact same way. The Gunk was when it was over. I was like,
that's it.
Okay. I mean, I was having fun, but now it's all over. Okay. Sometimes games like that, they just end abruptly. But with this, you got Konami's money and Konami's name. And
this game's going to be fucking huge.
Fantastic fucking game. It's going to blow up. This is a remake, right? When we were talking a few weeks ago about does Horizon Zero Dawn really need a remake right now? The answer's no, it doesn't.
Looks great.
But Silent Hill 2, this needs a remake, man. Yes, please. This is what we want.
This is going to be
when we talked about the land of misfit games, dude. We need our Soul Reaver remake. We need our come on now. Let's do it. Let's get it going. Start bringing back the old 3D games that were amazing.
This is an easy 10 million copies sold. Like just.
Oh, they're going to sell a ton of copies for sure. Yeah, no, this is a grand slam. I'm excited.
Next up, Silent Hill Townfall. And I'm sure we're in the same boat here, no pun intended from the trailer. But we really don't have anything to say about it because it was just like, here's this game. It's going to be called Silent Hill Townfall. And it's just waves crashing against the beach. So, like, you really can't make heads or tails of it. So we don't really need to, I guess, say too much about it other than what was reported. So Silent Hill Townfall, a new spinoff developed by No Code Studios and publisher Annapurna Interactive. We've heard of them. This new project will be a unique take on the Silent Hill franchise from a highly decorated AA player. What do you got, Johnny?
So I'd never heard of No Code Studio, so I went to their website and looked at their previous two games. They did a game called Stories Untold, and they did a game called Observation. Stories Untold, from what I can tell, is a horror game where you're sitting in an old computer and you're literally playing a text-based adventure game while creepy shit is happening around the house. And that's, from what I can tell, is the game. So interesting, but not like oh my God, we need to give them a huge franchise. Now the other one, Observation, does look intriguing. I watched the trailer and said, shit, how did this game miss my radar? I think I need to play this. It looks like you're humans on a space station and shit's going down. And the thing I found intriguing is that the presentation appears to be set cameras around the space station. So, Mike, while I'm talking about it, you can go on YouTube and search Observation Game. You'll see what I'm talking about. But the presentation of this game is very interesting. It appears that, for the most part, it is all taking place from cameras throughout the ship. So similar to like Resident Evil, where you turn the corner and it's now a different camera angle, this kind of works the same way. So you're floating through the space station, and as soon as you get out of view of that camera, another camera from another angle pops in. And the presentation of that game looks very original, very unique, and I am curious to see what these guys are going to do with Silent Hill. But I am similar to what your reaction was to the Silent Hill Townfall trailer. Is they didn't really give us anything. It was like, hey, here's the name. Here's the name of the game, and hi, we're the guys that are going to make the game that we just told you the name of. Have a nice day. So we don't really have anything to go off of yet, but I am intrigued to see the other two games they made do look like unique titles. So
the final game that was announced, they announced 3 Silent Hill games. Silent Hill F. Silent Hill F, another new spinoff announced, set in 1960s Japan. This narrative-driven spinoff will be written by acclaimed Japanese writer. I don't know who this is, so it just seems absurd to me, but Ryukishi 07. Acclaimed Japanese writer. I guess, Johnny, do a quick search on that for me. Who created visual novels. The spinoff will juxtapose a beautiful and terrifying world and focus on the psychological, supernatural mysteries of Silent Hill. Now, this game trailer actually showed quite a bit. 1960s Japan, kind of very Horizon Forbidden Westy, like evil, corrupted plant shit going on. Tangling up some girl, then like turning her like into a fungusy looking plant, very a la Last of Us, and then her face just fucking falls off, and you're like, what is going on here? So a little bit more to go off of here, but the only thing we can really take away from it, I think, is the vibe of the setting and stuff. So I do find it a bit ironic that you would have a Silent Hill game that takes place outside of Silent Hill and in a completely different country. I don't know that really is doing anything other than just milking the name.
Yeah.
But maybe there's some kind of tie back. I don't know.
I'm intrigued by this one because it narrative driven.
Yeah, is it going to be
Right?
like an
that
adventure game? Because that'd be dope.
or like a Edith Finch sort of thing, or something like a one of those like walking simulators where you're just kind of
Or
going from point to
or
point.
here's me getting real deep. Okay, the F in Silent Hill F is written as the musical notation for the symbol of forte. So could it be something to do with music? Perhaps?
Maybe.
Because that's a very intentional way of drawing an F.
I caught that as well. So then I would also argue that PT, which was the demo
Kojima
Silent
demo,
Hill
yes.
game that never became a thing, I would argue that was narrative driven because it wasn't really an action game. There wasn't a lot to do, but you're walking down the hallways and you're interacting with things and things jump out and scare you. So I feel like this might be them going, well, let's take the concept of the presentation of PT and try to do an actual real story.
Konami really needs to just release PT for like $20 on Marketplace, by the way. Because people
Just
are
do
now
it. And I know
jailbreaking their PS5s
I know.
just to
I
play
know.
that game.
I know, it's ridiculous. So anyway, in my Google search for Ryokishi 07, it's a whole bunch of mangas and screenplays for things that I've never heard of.
So
Hirogashi, Umi Neko,
we need a weeb.
When They Cry.
We need a weeb.
Yeah. We need a weeb to tell us.
Well, actually, in 2004, the anime such and such is considered to be one of the greatest. Yeah, no,
We need a
I
weeb.
Never heard of the guy, and I've never heard of his work. But I'm glad people are excited, and if he's a good writer, then I'm glad he's attached to this.
The best news to come out of the thing, the shindig, would be Silent Hill Ascension. This by far was the best and most cohesive announcement presented, and it's not even a game. No. It's the sequel to the original Silent Hill. Or rather, not Silent Hill Ascension, I'm sorry. It's Return to Silent Hill. Getting ahead of myself here. Return to Silent Hill is a movie sequel to the original Silent Hill movie, which was fantastic. And it's a movie telling of Silent Hill 2. So if you haven't had a chance to watch this segment of the show, I strongly recommend you break off as soon as you get a second and watch this piece of the show, if nothing else. It's a great interview / explaining what's going on from Christoph Gans. And he explains like the way he made the first movie was he tried to stick to the source material. He tried to make the game a movie and not turn the other way around, so to speak.
Right.
So this looks like it's just going to be a movie version of Silent Hill 2, and everything he's showing looks fantastic. And they said they went to Konami and are like, please let us do this, and they finally conceded, and it should be great. So I'm excited to see this. I'll be interested to see how it's released. I'm hoping it gets a theatrical release.
Same.
But I also wouldn't be surprised if it has some Sony exclusivity to it when it's put out digitally speaking. So
yeah,
we shall see. One other announcement from the show, and that's the one that I tried to call a movie a second ago. Silent Hill Ascension. So this is potentially the most unique announcement from the transmission. Konami announced Silent Hill Ascension, an immersive project where participants around the world will control the characters in a new Silent Hill story. Basically, a Let's Play Pokemon version of a new Silent Hill story that will be live on multiple platforms. Silent Hill Ascension is a collaboration between Genvid Entertainment, Bad Robot Games, Behavior Interactive, and DJ2 Entertainment. So, Johnny, thoughts on Silent Hill Ascension?
So Genvid Technologies developed a mobile game called The Walking Dead Last Mile that they pushed really hard on Facebook marketing about a year ago, saying this is going to be this huge, massive, live, interactive Walking Dead experience. It's going to be just mind-blowing, ahead of its time. Wait till you see what we've got. And the game was boring as fuck. Just boring. And their whole thing with like, oh, but look at how interactive it is, was like, okay, I'm looking at a static map, and I have like 3 things that I can do. So I need to go scavenge for materials. So let me go do that. And then it loads, and it goes, here's 3 other people that are doing that mission. We're like, okay, cool. And then our 4 little characters walked across the screen together, and we pressed the shoot button when the monsters came out. And then we picked up something, and then we walked a little bit more, and then we pressed the button when the next monster came out. And then when it was done, all 4 of us actual people playing the most boring fucking mobile game in the history of the world got our resources from the scavenging run. I played this game for 10 minutes and was like, this is fucking dumb.
For some reason, I'm just visualizing you guys going hunting in the Oregon Trail.
It's kind of what it was. No, it was just, if that's their level of quality, I'm not interested, but I don't want to be a pessimist.
Yeah, it's probably
what
I've
seen of this company. And granted, they had plenty of other titles on their website that I've never heard of, have no experience with, but the one game that they did make, and they did make a big deal out of it, and I did play, I thought was a big pile of shit not installed in 10 minutes. So hopeful that's not what this is.
Well, that wraps up the Silent Hill transmission and all the great conversations that we had for you this week. But alas, there is one final segment that we must cross before we finish this week's episode. And that segment is, of course, called Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. It's time for One Up. For all my bass players out there, let's talk for a second. Have you ever shown up to a gig and you get paired up with a drummer and they don't just want to play a straight beat? Oh no, they're trying to play nothing but fucking fills and flash.
Oh,
it's basically the worst thing ever.
Yeah,
I had to deal with that this week. So I go to rehearsal. Okay, first let's practice is something you do by yourself. When you show up to play with other people, that's called rehearsal. And you don't practice at rehearsal. When you come to a rehearsal, you should already have practiced. So there was no practicing going on with said percussionist. And so that's fine, actually, because drums is pretty easy. Not to knock on drummers, but like 99% of what you all need to do is fucking AC/DC. Boom, pop, boom, pop. And that's it. Okay? You can do that 99% of the time, and people will fucking love you because nobody cares about the fucking drummer. Nobody cares. Absolutely nobody cares. The only people who care about drummers are other drummers.
Or other drummers, yep.
That's it. And I get that because I'm a bass player. Same thing. Nobody gives a fuck about me when I'm playing. They want to not notice me. That means I'm doing my job correctly. That is the creed of the rhythm section of a band. So I'm going, oh boy. This is going to be rough. How do I stop this? How do I stop this? And I came up with a solution. So a lot of the bass parts that I had were like a straight, like eighth, dum 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 kind of thing. And I realized, I'm like, that gives the drummer a lot of freedom to do whatever the fuck they want. I said, I'm going to rewrite all of my bass parts. And I'm going to rewrite them all to bum, da dum ba bum, bum, ba dum ba bum. And dude, I shit you not. This is my one up. Bum, ba-dum-ba-bum. I shit you not. The second I started laying down that groove versus the eighth note grooves, you can't do whatever the fuck you want over that. So his foot now had to focus on bump, ba-bump, ba-bump. And so he just starts playing straight. And I'm like, I got him. I fucking got him. That's my one up.
Dude, that's so funny. So that just reminded me of we had a big falling out with one of our drummers years ago, and I'll never forget the argument. We had this really fucking catchy song that we were working on, and we were all pumped on it. We're like, dude, this is fucking radio hit. This is like this is the catchiest shit we've ever written, right? And the hook was like, and the drummer was doing ba 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 ba, and it was like, dude, that's not working. Like, exactly. And like, so finally I was like, stop, fucking stop. Like, cut everybody off. And I was like, okay, who was your favorite drummer in the world? And he goes, Jimmy Chamberlain from the Smashing Pumpkins. Okay, do you know what Jimmy Chamberlain of the Smashing Pumpkins does in every chorus of every single Smashing Pumpkins song fucking ever? He does this. This is what the fuck he does on the chorus, okay? When we're on the bridge and we're all going off, that's fine. You can go off then. But on the chorus, can you just fucking play this, dude? And he, like, got super offended. And, like, I was like, what he was playing didn't work. I was like, if you just played this, it would sound so much better. And he wouldn't do it. He fucking refused. So, yeah, some drummers just, they don't realize, man, 4 on the floor is that's what pays the bills. My one-up, I'm very excited for this. Sony has finally unfucked the PlayStation Remote Play app for PC. They have finally unfucked it. I've been thoroughly unimpressed with it since the moment I bought my PS5, and I knew that Remote Play was a thing. I was like, oh, it's going to be awesome. I'll be able to I can fire up the PS5 over there, and I can stream it in HD on my computer here, and this is going to be rad. And every time I tried to do it, it was maybe 720, and it was real fuzzy and shitty looking. And I randomly today said, I haven't looked for an update in a while. Let me see if they updated it. Sure enough, they did. I don't know how old it is. It might be 3 months old. It might be 2 days old. No idea. But the new version, 5.5.0.8250, it's definitely HD, and it's definitely 60 frames a second. And look who's going to be streaming PS5 just in time for God of War Ragnarok. The PlayStation Remote Play app has officially been unfucked.
Very nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up a exciting episode of the Power Gamer podcast. We will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode for you to enjoy. Until then, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paulus.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch you on the flip-flop.